Alex Morgan yawned as she looked at the clock on the wall of her small office. It was almost midnight Earth time. She had been working for 16 hours straight, but the repair list for tomorrow was finally done. As head engineer of Orbital, Station 7's maintenance dock, her job never seemed to end. She rubbed her tired eyes and stood up to stretch. Through the large window of her office, she could see Earth below, a beautiful blue sphere against the blackness of space. Orbital Station 7 had been built 10 years ago, after humans joined the Galactic Alliance. It was not the biggest or the most advanced repair station in the galaxy, but it had a good reputation among human ships. Alex was about to leave when the emergency alarm went off. The sound made her jump. She grabbed her tablet and ran to the control room. "What's happening?" she asked as she entered. The room was filled with screens showing different parts of the station. People were moving quickly, talking into their headsets. Station Director Frank Daniels turned to her, his face serious. "We have an unscheduled arrival. A ship just entered our space and is asking for emergency repairs." "One of ours?" Alex asked, already checking the repair bay status on her tablet. "No," Frank said, his voice lower now. "It's alien. Raxian, to be exact." Alex looked up in surprise. Raxians were insect-like aliens from a system 17 light-years away. They had their own repair stations, much more advanced than Orbital. "Station 7. Why would a Raxian ship come here?" "They're requesting permission to dock," said Joe, the communications officer. "The captain says they have critical damage to their warp stabilizer." Frank frowned. "Why didn't they stop at their own repair stations? There are at least 3 between here and Raxian space." "Unknown, sir," Joe replied, "but they're not going to make it much further with that kind of damage." Frank looked at Alex. "What do you think?" Alex checked the repair bay schedules. "Bay 4 is empty. We can take them." Frank nodded. "Okay. Tell them they can dock. But I want security present just in case." 20 minutes later, Alex stood in repair bay 4 with Frank and a team of 4 security officers. The massive doors opened slowly, revealing the alien ship. It was smaller than Alex had expected, about the size of a human scout vessel. Its outer hull was a dark green color with strange symbols painted on the side. Damage was visible on the port side, where something had hit the ship hard enough to bend the metal. The ship's landing gear extended, and it settled onto the bay floor with a soft hiss. A moment of silence followed, then a door on the side of the ship slid open. A tall figure appeared in the doorway. Captain Zegathal of the Raxian scout vessel was almost 7 feet tall. His body was covered in a hard, shell-like exterior that reminded Alex of an earth beetle, but with more segments. 4 arms extended from his upper body, and his head featured large compound eyes and moving mandibles instead of a mouth. He wore what looked like a uniform, with insignia Alex didn't recognize. "Greetings, humans of Orbital Station 7, the alien said in slightly accented English. The words came from a small translator device attached to his uniform. "I am Captain Zegathal. Thank you for allowing us to dock." Frank stepped forward. "Welcome, Captain. I'm Station Director Frank Daniels. This is our head engineer, Alex Morgan. She'll be overseeing your repairs." The alien turned his large eyes toward Alex. She couldn't read his expression. Alien faces were still a mystery to her, but his posture seemed respectful. "Engineer Morgan," he said with a slight bow of his head. "Your assistance is greatly appreciated." "Happy to help," Alex replied, trying to sound professional despite her surprise. "Can you tell us what happened to your ship?" "We encountered an unexpected debris field near the Proxima system," the captain explained. "Our sensors failed to detect it in time. A large piece of metal struck our port side, damaging our warp stabilizer." Alex nodded. That explained the visible damage. "And may I ask why you bypassed your own repair stations to come here? Our technology is, well, less advanced than yours." Captain Zekathal's mandibles clicked together softly. "Human repairs have favorable reputation among deep space travelers. You fix things differently." Frank and Alex exchanged confused looks. "Differently?" Frank asked. "Yes," the alien captain replied. "Your species approaches problems with unique perspective. My fellow captains who have experienced human repairs speak highly of the results. Alex wasn't sure if that was a compliment or not. Well, we'll need to inspect the damage before I can tell you how long repairs will take. Of course, Captain Zikathal said. My crew and I will remain on board unless you require access to the interior. Over the next few hours, Alex and her team carefully examined the damaged warp stabilizer. It was indeed advanced technology, but the principles were similar to human warp systems. The stabilizer controlled the ship's warp field, preventing dangerous fluctuations during faster-than-light travel. Without it, the ship risked tearing itself apart at warp speeds. Standard alien procedure would be to completely replace the damaged unit. But replacement parts for Raxian ships weren't available on a human station. They would need to find another solution. The next morning, Alex presented her plan to Captain Zekathal. We can't replace the entire stabilizer, she explained, showing diagrams on her tablet. But we can reinforce the damaged section with a titanium alloy and recalibrate the internal field generators to compensate for the structural changes. The alien captain studied the diagrams with his large compound eyes. This is not standard procedure, he noted. No, Alex admitted, but it should work. We've done similar repairs on human ships. Fascinating, Captain Zekathal said. Please, proceed. It took Alex's team 3 days to complete the repairs. They worked in shifts, carefully following Alex's plans. The work was challenging. Alien technology always was, but also exciting. By the final day, Alex had gained a new appreciation for Raxian engineering. When the repairs were complete, Alex ran a full system diagnostic. The results surprised her. Captain, she said, showing the alien the readout. The warp stabilizer is now functioning at 112% of its original efficiency. Captain Zekathal's mandibles clicked rapidly, which Alex had learned was a sign of surprise or excitement. How is this possible? Alex shrugged. The titanium alloy we used is lighter, but stronger than your original material, and the recalibration allows for better energy flow. It was just the most efficient solution with the materials we had available. The alien captain was silent for a moment, his compound eyes fixed on the readout. Finally, he looked up at Alex. This confirms what I had heard, he said. Human repairs are indeed special. You do not simply restore, you improve. Before departing, Captain Zekathal paid not just the agreed fee, but added a substantial bonus. More importantly, he uploaded a highly positive review to the Galactic EA network, recommending Orbital Station 7 to other alien captains. As Alex watched the Raxian ship disappear into the darkness of space, Frank joined her in the observation deck. Well, he said, that was unexpected. Alex nodded, still confused by the whole experience. Why would advanced aliens want our primitive repairs? Frank shrugged. Maybe being primitive has its advantages sometimes. Neither of them realized that this was just the beginning. Within weeks, more alien vessels would begin appearing at Orbital Station 7, all requesting the human repair method. And Alex Morgan's life was about to change forever. 6 months passed since Captain Zekathal's visit to Orbital Station 7. Life had changed completely for Alex Morgan and her repair team. The message the Raxian captain had posted on the Galactic Network spread quickly. First came 2 more alien ships, then 5, then dozens. Now, Orbital Station 7 had a waiting list 3 months long. Alien captains from all over the galaxy wanted what they called human touch repairs. Alex had been promoted to a new position, interspecies repair relations. Her job was to talk with alien captains, understand their needs, and figure out what made human repairs so special to them. Frank had also created a special team of engineers who worked only on alien ships. I still don't understand it, Alex said to Joe Ramirez. Joe had been moved from communications to work as a cultural liaison with the alien visitors. They were sitting in the station's cafeteria, drinking coffee after a long day. Why would advanced aliens want repairs from humans? Our technology is at least 100 years behind most of theirs. Joe shrugged. Maybe it's not about the technology, maybe it's about how we think. What do you mean? Well, I've been talking to some of the captains. They say something interesting about human repairs. Tell me, Alex said, leaning forward. They say we're unpredictable, creative. We don't follow the standard way of doing things. Alex thought about this. It was true that human engineers were trained to be flexible. When you're exploring deep space with limited supplies, you learn to fix things with whatever you have. I've asked permission for you to interview some of the captains, Joe said. Maybe they can explain it better than I can. The next day, Alex met with Captain Drawl in meeting room 3. Drawl was from the Andromeda Galaxy, and his species looked like large blobs of blue jelly. He moved around in a special floating container filled with the gases he needed to breathe. Thank you for meeting with me, Captain, Alex said, sitting down across from the alien. The pleasure is mine, Engineer Morgan. Drawl replied, his translator turning his bubbling sounds into English. Your reputation grows among ship captains. That's what I want to talk about, Alex said. Why do alien captains prefer our repairs? Your technology is more advanced than ours. Drawl's body rippled, which Alex guessed was his version of nodding. Your species does not worship perfection, he explained. You embrace adaptation. Where my engineers would discard and replace, you tinker, you improvise. The result is ships that have character, that have resilience beyond their original specifications. Alex took notes on her tablet. So it's about creativity? Partly, Drawl said, but there is more. Factory repairs from my world are always the same, always perfect, always identical. But sometimes identical is not best. Sometimes unique is better. After talking with Drawl, Alex interviewed 5 more alien captains that week. They all said similar things. Human repairs were different, unexpected, sometimes better than the original design. The most dramatic example came 3 weeks later. Captain Nevra's massive cargo hauler had been repaired at Orbital Station 7 2 months earlier. The ship had returned from a long journey through a dangerous part of space. An ion storm had disabled 3 other cargo ships of the same type. But Captain Nevra's ship had survived without damage. It was the power distribution system your team installed, Captain Nevra told Alex during a video call. Nevra looked like a tall, thin human with green skin and no hair. The way you connected it created a unique energy flow pattern. When the ion storm hit, that pattern protected our critical systems. That wasn't planned, Alex admitted. We just did what worked best with the parts we had. Exactly, Nevra said, smiling. That is why we seek human repairs. As Orbital Station 7's reputation grew, so did the pressure from Earth's government. They wanted to know the secret of human repairs so they could share it with the Galactic Alliance. Politicians and scientists visited the station, watching Alex's team work. There is no secret, Alex told them. We just fix things the best way we can with what we have. But the visitors weren't satisfied with that answer. They wanted something they could write down, something they could teach in schools or program into computers. One evening, after another long day of visits from government officials, Alex found Frank in his office. He looked tired. More questions. About our repair secrets? She asked, sitting down across from him. Frank nodded. They don't believe it's just human creativity. They think we've discovered some advanced alien technology and are keeping it secret. That's silly, Alex said. We're just doing our jobs. I know, Frank replied. But the situation is getting complicated. The Galactic Alliance Trade Commission is starting to ask questions too. Some of the big alien shipbuilding companies are not happy with us. Why would they care about a small repair station like ours? Frank looked at her seriously. Because we're cutting into their business. Think about it, Alex. If ships repaired by humans last longer and work better, fewer new ships need to be built. Alex hadn't thought about the politics of the situation before. She was just an engineer doing her job. But now she realized their work was having effects far beyond Orbital Station 7. The next day, a new ship arrived at the station. It was bigger than any they had seen before, a hegemony battlecruiser. The hegemony was one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Their technology was said to be thousands of years ahead of Earth's. When the ship docked, its captain requested a meeting with Alex personally. Captain Vrax was tall and thin with pale white skin and 4 arms. His species looked almost skeletal to human eyes, but they were known for their intelligence and long lifespans. "Engineer Morgan," he said when they met, his voice deep and formal, "your reputation has reached even the Hegemony High Command. I have traveled 12 parsecs to seek your assistance." "What seems to be the problem with your ship, Captain?" Alex asked, trying to hide her surprise. "Our quantum navigation array is malfunctioning," Captain Vrax explained. "Our own engineers have tried 3 times to repair it without success. I believe your unique approach may succeed where they have failed." Alex felt a mix of pride and fear. The quantum navigation systems of a Hegemony battlecruiser would be far more advanced than anything she had worked on before. "We'll do our best, Captain," she said. "But I should warn you, we've never worked on Hegemony systems before." Captain Vrax nodded his long head. "That, Engineer Morgan, is precisely why I came to you." As Alex walked with Captain Vrax to inspect his ship, she wondered what secrets they might discover inside. Little did she know that this repair job would lead to a discovery that would change humanity's understanding of starships forever and plunge Orbital Station 7 into the center of galactic politics. The Hegemony battlecruiser was the most impressive ship Alex had ever seen. From the outside, it looked like a long, dark spear with strange patterns along its hull that seemed to move when you weren't looking directly at them. Inside, it was even more amazing. "This is our navigation center," Captain Vrax explained as he led Alex and her team through wide corridors with high ceilings. The room he showed them was large and circular, with a glowing sphere in the center. Around it were control panels with symbols Alex didn't recognize. "The quantum navigation array is connected to this central sphere," Captain Vrax said. "It allows us to plot courses through space-time with extreme precision." Alex nodded, trying to hide how impressed she was. "What exactly is happening when it malfunctions?" "The array loses synchronization with our destination coordinates," Vrax explained. "It causes our jumps through space to end up slightly off target. For a ship of this size, even small errors are dangerous." Alex's team was given access to the technical systems and began their work. Samantha Wells, one of Alex's best engineers, was the first to notice something unusual. "Alex, come look at this," Samantha called from her position near the glowing sphere. She was using a human scanner to examine the system connections. Alex walked over. "What did you find?" "The readings are strange," Samantha said, showing Alex her scanner. "It's almost like the system is reacting to our scans." "Reacting like it's alive?" Alex asked. "Not exactly, but something similar," Samantha replied. "Look at these patterns." Alex studied the scanner readout. The energy patterns did seem to shift and change as they watched, almost like they were responding to being observed. Alex turned to Captain Vrax, who was standing nearby. "Captain, is the navigation array partially organic?" Vrax tilted his head. "Organic? No. It is composed of quantum-aligned materials and energy fields. But it responds to stimuli like a living thing," Alex said. "All advanced systems show adaptive behaviors," Vrax replied. "It is simply advanced technology." Alex wasn't so sure. She asked permission to bring in Dr. Pete Kennedy, the station's xenobiologist. Pete normally studied alien life forms, not ships, but Alex had a theory she wanted to test. When Pete arrived, he brought specialized equipment for analyzing biological samples. Captain Vrax seemed confused but allowed it. "This is completely outside my normal field," Pete said as he set up his equipment. "But I'll do what I can." After several hours of tests, Pete called Alex and Samantha to a small room they were using as a temporary lab. "You were right to call me," Pete said, his eyes wide with excitement. "These readings are incredible. The navigation array isn't purely mechanical. It contains what I can only describe as semi-organic components." "Semi-organic?" Alex asked. "Like it's partly alive?" "Not alive in the way we understand life," Pete explained. "But these components respond to stimuli in ways similar to living tissue. They adapt, learn, and even heal under the right conditions. That would explain why standard replacement procedures don't work well," Samantha said. "If you replace parts of a living system with artificial components, the system might reject them." Alex thought about all the repairs they had done on alien ships over the past 6 months. The pattern was becoming clear. "We need to change our approach completely," she said. "We've been treating these ships like machines, but we need to treat them more like patients." Over the next week, Alex's team worked with Pete to develop a new repair method for the Hegemony ship. Instead of simply replacing damaged components, they treated the navigation array as a semi-living entity that needed healing rather than fixing. They created a special energy field that encouraged the system's natural healing processes. They carefully removed damaged sections and allowed the healthy parts to grow and extend into the empty spaces. They monitored the system's responses and adjusted their methods based on what worked best. Captain Vrax watched their progress with growing interest. At first he had seemed skeptical of their unusual methods, but as the navigation array began to show improvement, his attitude changed. "Your approach is unorthodox," he told Alex one day as they observed the array's power levels, rising steadily. "But I cannot argue with the results." "It's not just unorthodox," Alex replied. "It's based on a completely different understanding of your ship's systems. They're not just machines, they have organic qualities." Vrax was silent for a long moment. "This knowledge is not widely shared with younger species like yours." Alex looked at him in surprise. "You mean you knew?" "Of course," Vrax said. "The Hegemony has been building ships this way for millennia. What we do not fully understand is why human repair techniques work so well with our systems. Your species has no history with semi-organic technology." "Maybe that's exactly why," Alex suggested. "We approach each problem fresh, without preconceptions." After 2 weeks of work, the navigation array was fully functional again. In fact, it was working better than before, with a 15% increase in targeting precision. Captain Vrax was more than satisfied. "Engineer Morgan, you have done what our best technicians could not. The Hegemony High Command will be most interested in your methods." Before leaving, Vrax made Alex an offer that shocked her, a chance to visit the legendary shipyards of the Hegemony homeworld. There she could study how their vessels were built and potentially revolutionize human understanding of starship technology. "It is an honor rarely extended to non-Hegemony species," Vrax explained. "But I believe the exchange of knowledge would benefit both our peoples." Alex was excited by the opportunity, but also worried about leaving Orbital Station 7 during such a busy time. She promised to consider the offer. As she was walking back to her quarters that evening, Alex received an urgent message from Diane Collins, the station's security chief. "Alex, we need to talk," Diane said when they met in her office. "I've received some disturbing information from our contacts in the Galactic Alliance." "What kind of information?" Alex asked, feeling a sense of dread. "Several powerful factions are becoming concerned about humanity's growing influence in starship technology," Diane explained. "Some are calling for restrictions on human repair facilities. They claim we're violating intellectual property regulations by modifying proprietary systems." "That's ridiculous," Alex said. "We're just doing repairs. The captains come to us voluntarily." "I know," Diane replied. "But there's more to it. The major shipbuilding powers are losing business because ships repaired by humans last longer and perform better. They're putting pressure on the Alliance Council." Alex sat back in her chair, thinking about Captain Vrax's invitation. It now seemed more important than ever to understand the true nature of advanced alien vessels. "We need to learn everything we can about these semi-organic systems," she said finally. "If powerful groups want to shut us down, our best defense is knowledge." What had started as a simple repair job had now become something much bigger. Alex realized she was at the center of a situation that could affect humanity's place in the galaxy, and her next decisions would shape not just her own future, but potentially the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. Alex spent 3 days thinking about Captain Vrax's offer. She talked with Frank, Samantha, and Pete, asking for their advice. In the end, she decided to accept the invitation to visit the Hegemony homeworld. If human repair techniques were causing problems with the major powers of the galaxy, she needed to understand exactly why. "I'll be gone for about 3 weeks," Alex told her team. "Samantha will be in charge while I'm away." Frank wasn't happy about her leaving, but he understood how important this opportunity was. Just be careful, he said. The hegemony aren't known for sharing their secrets easily. 2 days later, Alex boarded Captain Vrax's battlecruiser. The journey to the hegemony homeworld would take 1 week at maximum warp speed. During that time, Vrax allowed her to study the ship's systems in detail. Our vessels contain what we call adaptive matrices, Vrax explained as they walked through the ship's main engineering section. They are created through a special process that combines technology with specially grown materials. So they're not exactly alive, but they're not exactly machines either, Alex said. Correct. They exist somewhere in between. When they finally reached the hegemony homeworld, Alex was amazed. The planet was covered with tall, crystal-like structures that sparkled in the light of its 2 suns. But even more impressive were the orbital shipyards. This is where our greatest vessels are created, Vrax said as their shuttle approached one of the massive space stations. Inside the shipyard, Alex discovered something that changed her understanding completely. The hegemony didn't build their ships, they grew them. In enormous chambers filled with strange energy fields, ship components developed from small seed-like objects. Hegemony engineers monitored the process, adjusting the conditions to shape how the components grew. The process takes about 2 Earth years for a ship of this size, explained Zareth, the shipyard's chief engineer. He was older than Vrax, with skin so pale it was almost transparent. Each vessel develops unique characteristics based on the conditions of its growth. That's why standardized repairs often fail, Alex realized. Each ship is as unique as a person. Precisely, Zareth agreed, which is why your human approach has been successful. You treat each ship according to its individual needs, rather than following standard procedures. Alex spent 2 weeks studying the hegemony shipbuilding process. She learned that many advanced species in the galaxy used similar methods, though each had their own variations. The massive ships that traveled between the stars weren't simply constructed, they were cultivated, like living things. As her visit came to an end, Alex felt both excited and worried. The knowledge she had gained would revolutionize human understanding of starship technology. But she also understood why powerful interests might feel threatened by human repair techniques. When she returned to Orbital Station 7, Alex found the situation had gotten worse. Frank met her at the docking bay, his face serious. The Galactic Alliance Trade Commission has launched an official investigation, he said as they walked to his office. They claim our repair methods are interfering with proprietary biomechanical systems without proper licensing. That's ridiculous, Alex said. We're just helping ships that come to us voluntarily. I know, Frank replied. But there's more to it than that. The major shipbuilding powers operate what amounts to a planned obsolescence scheme. Ships are designed to require regular factory servicing, creating a perpetual revenue stream for them. Our repairs are disrupting this model. When they reached Frank's office, Alex found a surprise waiting for her. Commissioner Larntic of the Galactic Alliance Trade Commission was sitting there. He was a short, round alien with blue skin and 6 small eyes arranged in a circle on his face. Engineer Morgan, Larntic said, standing up. I've been waiting to speak with you. Commissioner, Alex replied, trying to stay calm. What exactly is the Trade Commission's concern with our repair facility? Larntic's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. The issue is quite simple. Your facility is modifying advanced biomechanical systems without proper certification or licensing. This violates multiple trade agreements. We're just doing repairs, Alex said. The captains come to us because they want our help. That may be true, Larntic replied, but the intellectual property rights for these systems belong to the manufacturers. They invested millennia of research into developing this technology. The real issue became clear to Alex. This wasn't about rules or regulations, it was about money and control. So what happens now, she asked. The commission will hold hearings next month, Larntic explained. Until then, your facility may continue operating, but we recommend you limit your activities to human vessels only. After the commissioner left, Alex and Frank discussed their options. The situation looked bad. The major shipbuilding powers had far more influence in the Galactic Alliance than Earth did. We need allies, Frank said. I might have an idea about that, Alex replied. The next day, she sent messages to every ship captain whose vessel had been repaired at Orbital Station 7. She explained the situation and asked for their support. The response was better than she had hoped. Within 1 week, ships began arriving at the station, not for repairs but to show support. Captain Zakathal was among the first to arrive. "Your message reached us at the edge of the Raxian sector," he told Alex. "I came as soon as I could." "Thank you," Alex said, "but I'm not sure what difference it will make. The Trade Commission has already made up its mind." "Perhaps," Zakathal replied, his mandibles clicking softly. "But they have not heard from the independent captains and traders who make up the majority of galactic traffic. We have our own influence." As more ships arrived, a plan began to form. The independent captains and traders from 17 different species agreed to speak at the commission hearings. They would testify about how human repairs had saved lives and livelihoods. Meanwhile, Frank worked with Earth's government to develop a legal defense. He also started organizing what he called a right to repair movement, arguing that ship owners should have the right to seek repairs from any qualified facility. The smaller independent worlds and trading outposts began supporting the movement, too. Many of them had their own repair facilities that operated similar to Orbital Station 7, though none had been as successful with advanced alien vessels. As the date of the hearings approached, Alex worried about what would happen. The major shipbuilding powers had thousands of years of influence in the galaxy. Earth had been part of the Galactic Alliance for less than a decade, but she also felt hopeful. The support from the independent captains and smaller worlds showed that humanity wasn't alone in this fight, and the knowledge she had gained at the hegemony shipyards would help them make their case. "We're not fighting against alien technology," she told her team during a meeting. "We're fighting for the right to help these semi-organic ships in the way they respond to best. It's not about human versus alien. It's about listening to what each individual ship needs." The day before the hearings were set to begin, Captain Vrax's battlecruiser returned to Orbital Station 7. Alex was surprised to see him again so soon. "I did not expect to find you still operating," Vrax said when they met. "The commission allowed us to continue until the hearings," Alex explained. Vrax nodded his long head. "I have come to offer my support. The Hegemony High Command has taken an interest in this situation." "Does that mean they're on our side?" Alex asked hopefully. "Yug, Hegemony rarely takes sides," Vrax replied. "But we value knowledge and innovation. Your approach to ship repair represents both. It would be inefficient to allow it to be suppressed." With the Hegemony's support, along with the independent captains and smaller worlds, the fight was becoming more balanced. As Alex prepared for the hearings, she realized that what had started as a simple repair job had evolved into something that could change the power structure of the entire galaxy. The Galactic Alliance Council chambers were located on a space station called Unity Point. It was a huge ring-shaped structure that floated at a point in space exactly halfway between the territories of the founding Alliance members. Alex had never been to Unity Point before. As she stepped off the transport ship with Frank and the rest of their team, she felt nervous. The council chambers were famous throughout the galaxy. This was where the most important decisions affecting all species were made. "Impressive, isn't it?" Frank said, looking at the soaring ceilings and walls made of a strange, shimmering material that seemed to change color as they walked. Alex nodded. "I never thought I'd be here to defend repair techniques." The hearing was scheduled to begin in 2 hours. Their group was shown to a waiting area where captains from all over the galaxy had gathered to support them. Captain Zakathal approached. "Alex, the council has agreed to hear testimony from 20 ship captains," he said. "We have chosen those with the most compelling stories to represent us." "Thank you," Alex replied. "I just hope it's enough." The council chamber itself was a large circular room with seats for over 200 representatives from different worlds. In the center was a small platform where speakers would stand to address the council. When it was time for the hearing to begin, the chamber filled with representatives. Alex was surprised at how many had come. This issue seemed to have captured the attention of the entire alliance. Commissioner Larntik spoke first, presenting the case against Orbital Station 7. "The issue before us is clear," he said, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. Human repair techniques are interfering with proprietary biomechanical systems without proper certification or understanding. This not only violates trade agreements but potentially endangers ships and crews. Representatives from the major shipbuilding consortiums spoke next. They showed diagrams and technical specifications trying to prove that human repairs were dangerous and unauthorized. These systems require specialized knowledge developed over thousands of years, said a representative from the Melniran shipyards, one of the oldest in the galaxy. Humans simply do not have the experience or understanding to modify them safely. Then, it was Earth's turn. Frank stepped onto the speaking platform first. Members of the council, he began, this case is not about technical specifications or trade agreements. It's about a simple principle, the right to repair. Ship owners should have the freedom to choose who repairs their vessels and how. Alex spoke next, explaining what she had learned about semi-organic ship systems and how human repair techniques worked with these systems rather than against them. We don't replace parts with standardized components, she explained. We help. The ship's own systems heal and adapt. Our approach is more like medicine than mechanics. Then one by one, the ship captains gave their testimony. They told stories of how human repairs had saved their vessels, improved performance, and even saved lives in emergency situations. Captain Nevra described how his cargo ship had survived the ion storm that disabled similar vessels. An old Dralaxian captain explained how human repairs had extended the life of his family's trading vessel by 15 years. But the most powerful testimony came from Captain Vrax. As a representative of the hegemony, his words carried special weight. I came to Orbital Station 7 when my own engineers failed 3 times to repair our navigation array, he told the council. The human approach succeeded because they recognized something we had forgotten, that our ships are more than machines. They are living technologies that respond to care and attention, not just replacement parts. The chamber was silent when Vrax finished speaking. His support clearly surprised many of the representatives. Commissioner Larntick and the shipbuilding consortiums presented their counter-arguments. They claimed the captain's stories were exceptional cases, not the rule. They warned about safety risks and technical problems that might develop later. But their strongest argument was about economics. If ships no longer need regular factory maintenance, one consortium representative argued, the entire shipbuilding industry will suffer. Millions of jobs across hundreds of worlds could be lost. It was a powerful point. Many council members looked concerned. As the final statements were being prepared, Captain Nevra asked for permission to show something to the council. When approved, he displayed maintenance logs from his ship and 5 others of the same model. The logs clearly showed that after standard factory servicing, performance actually decreased in many systems. They designed the ships to need constant maintenance, Nevra explained. Not to improve them, but to keep us dependent on their services. Human repairs break this cycle. The council deliberated for 3 days. Alex, Frank, and their supporters waited nervously. The decision would affect not just Orbital Station 7, but potentially humanity's place in the galaxy. Finally, they were called back to the council chamber to hear the ruling. The head counselor, an ancient being from one of the founding Alliance species, announced their decision. After careful consideration of all testimony and evidence, the Council has decided to establish new regulations for ship repair throughout the Alliance. Ship owners will have the right to seek repairs from any qualified facility. Technical specifications for biomechanical systems will be made available to certified repair stations regardless of species. The chamber erupted in cheers from the independent captains and representatives of smaller worlds. The consortium representatives looked unhappy, but accepted the decision. However, the counselor continued when the noise died down, to ensure safety and proper training, human engineers must share their innovative techniques with the galaxy while respecting the semi-organic nature of advanced vessels. A new interspecies engineering academy will be established for this purpose. 1 year later, Alex stood in her office overlooking the busy repair bays of what had once been Orbital Station 7. The station had been expanded and renamed the Galactic Interspecies Engineering Academy. Ships from all over the galaxy came not just for repairs but for training and cultural exchange. Human engineers now worked alongside alien technicians, each learning from the other's perspective. The right to repair movement had spread throughout the Alliance, changing not just how ships were maintained but how species worked together. Alex watched as a new class of students, representing 15 different species, gathered in Bay 4 for a lesson on adaptive repair techniques. The instructor was Captain Zekathal, who had retired from space travel to become a teacher. "Engineer Morgan," a voice said behind her. Alex turned to see Captain Vrax. "Captain, I didn't know you were visiting the station," she said, surprised. "I came to share some news," Vrax replied. "The latest statistics on ships serviced using the new combined techniques show unprecedented reliability and performance improvements. The Hegemony High Command is most pleased." "That's wonderful," Alex said. "And what about the shipbuilding consortiums? Have they adapted to the new reality?" "They resisted at first," Vrax admitted. "But several have begun developing new ship, designs specifically meant to work with interspecies repair techniques. They are finding new markets for vessels that improve with age rather than deteriorate." As Vrax left, Alex turned back to the window. Below, a young human engineer was working side by side with a Raxian technician, their 4 hands moving in perfect coordination as they repaired a ship's system. What had begun with one alien captain seeking human repairs had evolved into something much greater, a new understanding between species, a new approach to technology, and a new place for humanity in the galactic community. As Captain Zekathal had once said during the council hearings, "Humans taught us that imperfection is not something to be corrected, but something to be integrated and learned from." In repairing our ships, they have helped repair our understanding of the galaxy itself.
The stars shimmered in the viewport as Commander Zrelik studied the holographic display. His scaled fingers traced the path of the signal that had caught the attention of the Voratian hunting fleet. The signal was weak but distinct, carrying the unmistakable patterns of an emerging civilization. "Interesting," Zrelik murmured. His amber eyes narrowed as he zoomed in on the small blue planet, a water world, teeming with life. The door to the command chamber slid open. Sub-Commander Krex entered and bowed his head slightly, the traditional gesture of respect among the Voratians. "The High Council has assembled, Commander. They await your assessment." Zrelik nodded. The Voratians had hunted intelligent species across 3 galaxies for millennia. Each new discovery was treated with careful consideration. Some species made worthy prey, offering challenge and honor in the hunt. Others were too primitive or too advanced, either unsporting to hunt or too dangerous to engage. "Tell them I have made my decision. This species shows promise." Later, standing before the High Council, Zrelik presented his findings. The large chamber was dimly lit, with 7 elder Voratians seated on raised platforms. Their bodies were adorned with trophies from countless hunts, bones, teeth, and other remnants of prey from across the stars. "The species calls themselves humans," Zrelik explained. "They have basic space travel capabilities but remain confined to their solar system. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but they show unusual adaptability and resourcefulness." Elder Vox, the oldest of the council members, leaned forward. "You believe they are worthy of the hunt." "I do," Zrelik replied confidently. "I request permission to leave a small expedition to conduct an initial assessment." The council members exchanged glances, then Elder Vox nodded slowly. "Permission granted, but remember the ancient code. We hunt for honor, not mere slaughter. Assess them properly before deciding their fate." Thousands of light years away, Lieutenant Jack Murphy stared at the radar screen aboard the U.S. Defender. The naval vessel cut through the Pacific Ocean on a routine patrol, but there was nothing routine about the readings he was seeing. "Carter, are you picking up anything unusual on communications?" he asked. Lisa Carter adjusted her headset and frowned. "Yes, sir. I'm detecting some kind of pattern I've never seen before. It's not matching any known signal type in our database." Murphy glanced at the night sky. It was clear, with stars visible above the dark ocean waves. Something about it felt different tonight, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Log it and send the data to headquarters. Might be some new type of satellite interference, he said, though he didn't quite believe it himself. At that moment, the radar screen flickered. 3 small objects appeared in Earth's upper atmosphere, moving at impossible speeds before disappearing from detection. "Did you see that?" Murphy asked, pointing at the screen. "Yes, sir," the radar operator replied, his voice tense. "Whatever they weren't ours. Too fast, too small, and the trajectory was all wrong." Murphy's radio crackled to life. "Gus Defender, this is Pacific Command. We're tracking multiple anomalous atmospheric entries. All ships on alert status. Continue monitoring and report any visual confirmation." "Copy that." "Command," Murphy responded, feeling a chill run down his spine despite the warm night air. At NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station in New Mexico, Dr. Alan Wright rushed into the control room. Technicians huddled around computer screens displaying strange data patterns. "What are we looking at?" Wright asked, adjusting his glasses. "Sir, we're picking up signals unlike anything we've recorded before," a young technician explained. "They began approximately 43 minutes ago. The pattern suggests artificial origin, definitely not natural cosmic noise." Wright studied the readouts, his forehead creasing with concern. "Are we transmitting this to the Pentagon?" "Yes, sir. They're assembling a team to analyze it now." Wright nodded, but his attention remained fixed on the screens. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of other life, his scientific curiosity was overwhelmed by a more primal feeling. Fear. Somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, 3 small objects gently landed in a remote valley. Their surfaces shifted and blended with the surrounding environment, becoming nearly invisible. Inside, Voratian hunters prepared their observation equipment. The assessment of humanity as potential prey had begun. Dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Within a hidden cave system, transformed by Voratian technology into an observation post, 3 aliens reviewed their first day of data on humans. "Puzzling creatures," said Krex, scrolling through images of cities, farms, and military bases they had captured from orbit. "Physically weak compared to other prey we've hunted. No natural armor, no claws, limited sensory capabilities." Zrelik studied footage of human military training exercises, yet they dominate their planet. Every other species here lives by their mercy or exists in the shrinking spaces they haven't claimed. The third hunter, Thraz, added, "Their technology is primitive but inventive. They compensate for their physical limitations with tools." Zrelik made a decision. "We need direct observation. Let's collect a few specimens from isolated areas. Study their reactions to fear and pain." Krex looked eager. "Classification. Tier 3 prey," Zrelik decided. "Worthy of hunting, but not particularly challenging. The High Council will be pleased." Lieutenant Jack Murphy stood at attention in a conference room at the Pentagon. 5 days had passed since the strange readings on the U.S. Defender. Now he faced a panel of senior military officers and scientists. "At ease, Lieutenant," said General Frank Harris. "Your patrol recorded the best data on the atmospheric anomalies. Tell us what you saw." Murphy described the events as clearly as he could. When he finished, a woman in civilian clothes stepped forward. "Lieutenant, I'm Dr. Karen Ellis, cynobiologist. Did you notice any pattern to the object's movements?" "Yes, Mom. They moved with purpose, not like meteors or space debris. They changed direction twice before disappearing from our radar." Dr. Ellis nodded. "That matches other reports. We believe Earth is being observed." The room fell silent for a moment. General Harris spoke next. "Lieutenant Murphy, we're forming a special task force to investigate. Your experience makes you valuable. You're being reassigned, effective immediately." A week later, Murphy sat in a classified facility in Nevada, reviewing global reports of strange occurrences with Dr. Ellis. 3 hikers missing in Montana. Ellis said, placing a photo on the table. Park rangers found their campsite untouched except for this. The photo showed a strange iridescent substance on a tree trunk, similar to residue found at 2 other sites, she continued. Chemical analysis shows elements not on our periodic table. Murphy frowned. You really think it's aliens? The evidence points that way. Whatever they are, they're studying us, like scientists observing animals before deciding how to interact with them, or hunters scouting prey, Murphy said quietly. In the mountains, Zrelik examined the human they had captured. The man was unconscious, strapped to an examination table inside their hidden base. Fascinating circulatory system, Zrelik noted, as a scanner displayed the human's internal structure. Inefficient but resilient. Krex appeared disappointed. This specimen offered little challenge. It surrendered to fear quickly. One sample isn't enough to judge a species, Zrelik reminded him. Their history shows surprising violence and endurance for such fragile creatures. The scanner completed its work. Dispose of this one and acquire 2 more specimens. Different genders, different age groups. We need comprehensive data. Krex looked eager. The hunting party is ready. There's a research outpost in a place they call Alaska. Isolated. Small group. Perfect for our needs. Zrelik considered this, then nodded. Proceed. But remember, this is still assessment phase. We're gathering information, not starting the full hunt. Of course, Commander, Krex said, though his eyes gleamed with anticipation. Dr. Alan Wright stared at satellite images of the Rocky Mountains. 3 weeks of searching had revealed nothing obvious, but thermal imaging showed an unusual cold spot in a remote valley. Too perfectly cold, as if something was absorbing all heat in that area. Wright picked up a secure phone. General Harris, I think I found something, but you're not going to like it. At the same time, inside a secure room at the Pentagon, Dr. Ellis presented her findings to a group of grim-faced officials. The pattern is clear, she said. These aren't random disappearances or accidents. Someone, or something, is taking people, studying them, testing our responses. What do they want? Asked a senior official. Ellis met his gaze steadily. Based on the pattern of their activities and the types of individuals targeted, they're assessing our capabilities, like hunters sizing up potential prey. Snow fell heavily outside the Alaska Research Station. Inside, the team of 12 scientists and support staff went about their evening routines. They were studying climate change effects on the local ecosystem, isolated from the nearest town by 60 miles of wilderness. Paul Davis, the station chief, checked the weather radar one last time before bed. The storm would continue through the night. He was about to shut down his computer when an unusual alert appeared on his screen. The perimeter sensors were registering movement, but not from any recognized wildlife pattern. Davis frowned and switched to the external cameras. At first, he saw only swirling snow. Then, a shadow moved, too tall, too fluid to be a bear or moose. He reached for the radio. Security check, all personnel. We may have visitors. In the maintenance section, engineer Samantha Reeves heard the call and looked up from her work. The station's heating system had been acting up all day. She wiped her hands on a rag and reached for her radio when the lights suddenly went out. The emergency generators kicked in seconds later, bathing the station in dim red light. Samantha heard something that made her blood run cold, a scream, cut short, from the direction of the communications room. She moved to the door but stopped when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Not human footsteps, something heavier with an odd rhythm. Then voices, whispering in a language that made her skin crawl with its impossible sounds. Samantha quietly backed away from the door. The maintenance section had a small crawl space used to access pipes beneath the floor. She opened it and slipped inside, pulling the panel closed above her. Through gaps in the flooring, she watched in horror as the door to the maintenance room opened. A figure entered, tall, at least 7 feet, with a scaled body and amber eyes that glowed in the red emergency lighting. It wore armor that seemed to shift colors to match its surroundings, and carried something that looked like a weapon. Another alien joined the first. They spoke in that strange language, then began methodically searching the room. Samantha held her breath, pressing herself against a pipe to hide in the shadows. The first alien stopped and tilted its head, as if sensing something. It moved toward the crawl space. Samantha closed her eyes, certain she would be discovered. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the station. The aliens turned, communicating urgently, then rushed from the room. Samantha realized what had happened. Paul must have reached the emergency beacon, sending a distress signal to the military base 200 miles south. The government had been on alert for weeks about the strange occurrences nationwide. Trembling, she remained hidden, listening to the sounds of the hunt. Screams echoed through the station, followed by silence. Then methodical movements, room by room. The aliens were taking their time now, as if enjoying the process. Hours passed. Samantha heard them collect items. Trophies, she realized with horror, before the station fell silent. Still, she waited, her body numb from cold and fear. Dawn came. No sound except the wind outside. Finally, Samantha emerged from her hiding place and moved cautiously through the station. What she found would haunt her forever. Her colleagues were gone, some completely missing, others partially taken. Blood trails showed where bodies had been dragged. Most disturbing of all, certain items had been arranged deliberately, like displays in a museum. A message left for whoever found the scene. In Paul's office, Samantha found him slumped over the communications console. The emergency beacon light glowed steady. With his last breath, he had saved her by drawing the aliens away. On the console, written in his blood, was a single word: hunters. Samantha gathered what supplies she could find. The station's snowcat was untouched. The aliens had wanted survivors, wanted their story told. They were sending a message. As Samantha prepared to leave, a military helicopter appeared in the distance. Lieutenant Murphy's team had been dispatched as soon as the emergency beacon activated. They were expecting a natural disaster or equipment failure. What they would find instead would change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe forever. In their ship, returning to the hidden base, the Voratian hunters reviewed their recordings of the hunt with satisfaction. Good sport, Krex said, though they broke too easily. No real fight in them. Zrelik was less certain. We left one alive, as planned. Yes, hiding beneath the floor. Clever for such a primitive species. The human will tell others what happened. Good, Zrelik said. The true hunt requires fear, knowledge of what comes for them. What neither of them realized was that they had just made the biggest mistake in their species' long history of hunting. They had awakened something in humanity that had slept beneath the surface of civilization, something ancient and deadly that would soon turn the hunters into prey. The military helicopter landed at the Alaska Research Station amid swirling snow. Lieutenant Murphy was the first to exit, weapon ready. What they found inside turned even the hardened soldiers pale. "My God," whispered one of the soldiers as they surveyed the bloody scene. They found Samantha Reeves huddled in the snowcat, shivering more from shock than cold. Murphy wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. "You're safe now," he said gently. "Can you tell us what happened?" Her eyes were distant. "They hunted us. Like animals. They enjoyed it." 3 days later, Samantha sat in a secure room at the Pentagon. Her testimony had been recorded multiple times. Across the table, General Harris and Dr. Ellis listened intently as she described the aliens again. Tall, scaled skin, eyes that glowed amber. They moved. Wrong. Too fluid, too perfect. She took a shaky breath. They spoke a language that hurt to hear. Dr. Ellis pushed forward a tablet with images. Like any of these. Samantha looked, then pointed with a trembling finger. This one. But the real thing was worse. The image showed an artist's rendering based on Samantha's earlier descriptions. Ellis and Murphy exchanged looks. "Thank you, Ms. Reeves. You've been incredibly brave," Ellis said. When Samantha was escorted out, Murphy turned to Ellis. "You believe her?" "The forensic evidence supports everything she said," Ellis replied. "And she's not the only witness anymore. We have 3 similar reports now from different regions." General Harris spoke up. "The president is being briefed as we speak. This is no longer an investigation. It's a war." In a laboratory beneath the Pentagon, Dr. Wright examined fragments recovered from the Alaska station. Under powerful microscopes, the alien technology revealed its secrets. "It's beyond anything we have," he told Murphy and Ellis as they entered the lab. "The metal alloy can change properties based on electrical current. That's how they can camouflage themselves." He pointed to another fragment. "This is from their weapons. See these grooves? It's designed to maximize tissue damage, not for killing efficiency. They want their prey to suffer." "Prey," Murphy repeated, the word bitter in his mouth. "That's all we are to them." "Yes," Ellis agreed. "From everything we've gathered, these aliens are hunters. They don't want our resources or territory. They hunt intelligent species for sport, for trophies. Like big game hunters on safari," Wright added, "except we're the lions and tigers." Murphy's jaw tightened. "So what's our next move?" Ellis showed them a tablet with global map markers. "We've identified a pattern in their attacks. They're testing us, learning our strengths and weaknesses before a larger assault." "Then we need to change the rules of engagement," Murphy said. "If we're being hunted, we need to stop acting like prey." Around the world, governments quietly mobilized. A global coalition formed under the codename Operation Huntsman. Military leaders from a dozen countries gathered in a secure bunker beneath Geneva. General Harris addressed them. "What we face is unprecedented. An alien species with technology far beyond ours has targeted humanity as game animals." Murmurs filled the room. Harris continued, "But they've made a critical mistake. They've judged us by our physical limitations, not by what truly makes humans dangerous." He nodded to Dr. Ellis, who stepped forward. "These creatures have likely hunted many species across the galaxy, but I believe they've never encountered anything like humans before. We're adaptable, resourceful, and most importantly, we understand something they don't." She paused, looking around the room. "The most dangerous prey is the one that learns to hunt back." The plan they developed was audacious. Instead of defending potential targets, they would set a trap. Using knowledge gained from studying the alien technology and Samantha's observations, they would turn the hunters' own methods against them. Commander Zrelik stood before the Voritian High Council, presenting his assessment of humans. "They are more organized than expected after our first hunt. Their global communication allows rapid response to threats." Elder Vox leaned forward. "But they remain suitable prey." "Absolutely," Zrelik confirmed. "They possess curiosity and courage, which will make the hunt more satisfying. Their technology is primitive, their bodies weak. They have no natural weapons." "Then proceed to the next phase," Elder Vox ordered. "Begin selective hunts across their planet. Test their adaptability. Identify their strongest specimens for the final hunt." As Zrelik bowed and left the council chamber, he couldn't explain the faint unease he felt. Something about these humans bothered him. Their eyes held an intelligence that went beyond other prey species. When cornered, they didn't just show fear, they showed calculation. Still, he dismissed his concerns. Humans were just another prey species to add to the Voratians' long list of conquests. How dangerous could they possibly be? Lieutenant Murphy stood before the Operation Huntsman leadership team. The room was silent as he presented his plan. "We need to stop thinking defensively," he said, pointing to the tactical display. "These aliens see us as prey. They expect us to run, to hide, to defend. We need to do the opposite." General Harris frowned. "You're suggesting we hunt the hunters?" "Exactly, sir." Murphy moved to the next slide, showing a remote research facility in the Yukon. "We set up a target they can't resist. Staff it with special forces disguised as scientists. When they come for an easy hunt, We spring our trap. Dr. Ellis nodded slowly. Psychologically, it makes sense. They won't expect prey to become predators. Samantha Reeves, now working as a civilian consultant, added, I've been helping design countermeasures based on what I saw. They rely heavily on heat vision and sound detection. We can use that against them. The plan was risky. It required perfect execution and depended on the aliens following their established hunting patterns. After 3 hours of debate, General Harris made his decision. We're green-lighting Operation Reversal. God help us all. 2 weeks later, a research facility stood in the snowy Yukon wilderness. From the outside, it appeared to be studying Arctic ecosystems. Solar panels glinted on the roof. Scientists in parkas moved between buildings. But these weren't scientists. They were elite soldiers from 6 different nations, chosen for their combat skills and quick thinking. Their weapons were hidden but accessible. Specialized equipment, designed by Samantha and Dr. Wright, was positioned throughout the facility. Murphy, who commanded the operation, checked the final preparations. Remember, everyone looks scared when they first appear. Let them think they have the advantage. Wait for my signal. That night, strange readings appeared on the facility sensors. The trap was baited. Now they waited to see if the hunters would take it. Sub-Commander Krex reviewed the scans of the human research facility. Isolated. Minimal defenses. 14 humans detected. Perfect for our next demonstration hunt. The hunting party consisted of 8 Voracians, each excited for the glory of claiming human trophies. They had studied the results from previous hunts and felt confident. These humans would die like all the others, frightened, confused, and helpless against superior predators. Zrelik had remained at the main base, coordinating the larger hunting campaign across Earth. Remember, he told Krex before the mission, observe their response patterns. The High Council wants comprehensive data before the full-scale hunt begins. Krex barely listened. He was too eager for the hunt to concern himself with data collection. That night, the Voracian hunters approached the facility, their camouflage technology rendering them nearly invisible against the snowy landscape. They disabled the external communication system first, cutting the facility off from the outside world. Then, following their usual strategy, they triggered a power failure. Emergency lights came on inside, casting red shadows through the windows. The hunters watched, anticipating the familiar patterns of fear. Inside, Murphy gave the order to execute their plan. Remember your training. Make it look good. Scientists ran through hallways, shouting in apparent panic. The Voracians entered the facility, spreading out to track individual humans. Everything was proceeding as they expected, until it wasn't. The first Voracian hunter entered what appeared to be a storage room, tracking a frightened scientist. The door closed behind him. Suddenly, intense ultraviolet lights blinded his sensitive eyes. Before he could recover, sonic emitters hit a frequency that disrupted his nervous system. The hunter fell, disoriented and helpless. Throughout the facility, similar scenes played out. The hunters found themselves separated, their technological advantages neutralized by countermeasures specifically designed to target Voracian biology. Krex realized something was wrong when 3 of his hunters failed to report in. He switched his weapon to lethal settings and moved more cautiously. Turning a corner, he came face to face with Lieutenant Murphy. The human showed no fear. Instead, he smiled. "Welcome to Earth," Murphy said, before specialized weapons fired from multiple directions. 7 Voracian hunters died that night. The 8th, severely wounded, managed to escape into the wilderness. The humans tracked him for miles before losing the trail. For the first time in their species' long history of hunting other beings, the Voracians had lost an entire hunting party with only 1 survivor. The game had changed. The prey had become predators. The wounded hunter struggled back to the hidden Voracian base days later, barely alive. When Zrelik heard his report, he felt something the Voracians rarely experienced: fear. "They knew we were coming," the survivor gasped. "They were ready." They hunted us. Zrelik stared at the tactical display showing Earth. These humans were far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. He needed to warn the High Council immediately. The Voratian High Council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Elder Vox slammed his clawed hand on the table, silencing the others. 7 hunters lost. Impossible, he growled. No prey species has ever inflicted such losses. Commander Zrelik stood firm despite the hostile stares. The humans set a trap. They anticipated our hunting methods and prepared countermeasures specifically designed to target our weaknesses. You suggest these primitives are a threat to us? Another elder asked, mandibles clicking in agitation. I suggest we have underestimated them. Zrelik replied carefully. Humans lack physical strength, but they compensate with intelligence and adaptability. They learn quickly and work together effectively. Elder Vox rose to his full height. No prey dictates terms to the Voratians. We have hunted across 3 galaxies for 10,000 years. We will not be deterred by primitive mammals who barely understand space travel. The Council voted unanimously. A battle fleet would be dispatched to Earth. The hunt would escalate from small parties to full-scale invasion. Humans would not be merely hunted. They would be conquered, their resistance crushed, their spirit broken. Only Zrelik looked troubled by the decision. With respect, elders, we should study them more before committing our forces. There is something unusual about these humans. His concerns were dismissed. The Council had made its decision. In Washington, D.C., the President addressed an emergency joint session of Congress. The room was packed, with additional people standing along the walls. Television cameras broadcast to a nervous nation. My fellow Americans and citizens of all nations watching around the world. After consultation with global leaders and military advisors, I must share with you a truth we can no longer hide. He paused, his face grave. Earth is under attack by an extraterrestrial species. These beings have been responsible for the disappearances and attacks reported in recent weeks. They are technologically advanced, hostile, and consider humans as game animals to be hunted for sport. Gasps filled the chamber. The President continued. But they have misjudged humanity. Last week, our forces successfully defended against an alien hunting party, eliminating 7 of these creatures while suffering no casualties. Cheers erupted. He raised his hands for silence. This is only the beginning. Our intelligence suggests they will respond with greater force. We must prepare. Effective immediately, I am declaring a global state of emergency in cooperation with the United Nations and all allied nations. The world reacted with a mixture of panic and determination. Religious leaders called for prayer. Military recruiters were overwhelmed with volunteers. Scientists worked around the clock studying the alien technology recovered from previous encounters. At the Pentagon, Lieutenant Murphy met with Dr. Ellis and Dr. Wright. Their team had expanded to include experts from dozens of countries. We've cracked their communication system, Dr. Wright announced, looking exhausted but triumphant. It took combining linguistics, mathematics, and quantum computing, but we can now intercept and partially understand their transmissions. Dr. Ellis pulled up the latest data. They're sending a fleet, much larger than anything we've seen so far. Estimated arrival, 2 weeks. Murphy nodded grimly. How many ships? At least 50, Wright replied. Far beyond our capability to fight conventionally. Samantha Reeves joined them, carrying a prototype weapon based on recovered alien technology. Then we don't fight conventionally. We use what we learned about them. Murphy studied the tactical displays. They expect us to defend, to fortify our cities and military bases. They'll be looking for large targets where they can demonstrate their power. So we give them nothing to target, Ellis suggested. Decentralize. Fight asymmetrically. Murphy nodded. Exactly. We developed a strategy based on what makes humans different from their previous prey. We're not stronger or faster, but we have something they don't understand. What's that? Asked Wright. Unpredictability, Murphy answered. They hunt by patterns, by rules. We'd break all the rules. The plan they developed was unlike any military strategy in human history. It would require cooperation on a global scale. Traditional armies would be supplemented by civilian resistance networks. Every forest, desert, and city would become a hunting ground, not for the aliens, but for human hunters targeting alien prey. Across Earth, people prepared for war. Not a war of conquest or resources, but a war for survival itself. The hunters were coming in force. But this time, humans would be ready. In space, the Voratian battle fleet approached Earth, their ships dark and predatory. Commander Zrelik stood on the bridge of the command vessel, still troubled by doubts he couldn't explain. Something about these humans disturbed him deeply. They didn't react like prey should, and that made them dangerous in ways his people might not comprehend until it was too late. The Voratian fleet arrived on a Monday morning. 50 warships appeared in Earth's orbit, their dark hulls reflecting no light. Smaller craft detached from the main vessels and descended toward major cities across the globe. Commander Zrelik addressed his hunters from the command ship. Remember, this is not just a hunt. It is a demonstration of power. The humans have shown unusual resistance. We must break their will completely. On screens throughout the ship, images of Earth appeared. The Voratians expected scenes of panic, of military forces scrambling desperately to defend population centers. Instead, the screen showed empty streets. The cities seemed abandoned. Where are they? Sub-Commander Vril asked, mandibles clicking in confusion. Zrelik studied the images with growing unease. Deploy the hunting parties as planned. Find them. Elite Voratian hunters landed in New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and a dozen other major cities. They found buildings empty, streets deserted. The humans had seemingly vanished. The hunters advanced cautiously, sensing a trap but confident in their superior technology. In New York, a hunting party moved through Times Square. Their leader, Hunter Graux, scanned for heat signatures. Nothing registered except small animals. Then a sound drew their attention, a cell phone ringing in an abandoned cafe. As one hunter moved to investigate, the ground beneath him erupted. Hidden explosives detonated, followed immediately by gunfire from multiple directions. Similar scenes played out across the globe. The hunters found themselves ambushed in terrain unfamiliar to them, but intimately known to the defenders. Human snipers fired from positions impossible to detect with Voratian sensors. Traps had been prepared with knowledge of exactly how the aliens would respond. Zrelik watched in growing horror as hunting party after hunting party reported ambushes. Casualties mounted rapidly. The humans were not fighting like prey animals. They were fighting like predators, with patience, coordination, and ruthless efficiency. They're using our own tactics against us, Zrelik realized aloud. They studied how we hunt. On the surface, Lieutenant Murphy coordinated resistance forces in North America from a mobile command center deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Samantha Reeves had helped design specialized weapons that could penetrate Voratian armor based on her observations during the Alaska attack. New York team reports 12 hostiles eliminated. A communications officer reported. London confirms 8 down. Moscow has taken out an entire hunting party. Murphy nodded grimly. They expected us to defend fixed positions. Instead, we're making them hunt ghosts. Dr. Ellis entered the command center with new intelligence. The aliens are adapting their strategy. They're starting to ignore the cities and target our food production and water facilities. As expected, Murphy replied. Phase 2 begins now. Across rural areas, Voratian hunters discovered that farmlands and water treatment plants were even more dangerous than cities. Farmers who had hunted their whole lives turned their skills against the alien predators. Ordinary people became extraordinary guerrilla fighters, using knowledge of local terrain that no alien could match. In the Midwest, a Voratian hunting party tracked what they thought was a fleeing group of humans to a grain silo. As they entered the structure, prepared for an easy slaughter, they found themselves trapped in a carefully prepared killing zone. Not one alien survived. On his command ship, Zrelik watched the disaster unfold. Hunter parties were being eliminated at an alarming rate. Even worse, human forces had somehow located several Voratian landing craft and destroyed them, stranding the hunters on the surface. The humans know our tactics too well, Zrelik told the ship's council. They're not just resisting. They're hunting us systematically. Elder Vox, who had accompanied the fleet, refused to accept defeat. Impossible. They are prey, not predators. Increase our forces on the surface. Show no mercy. Before Zrelik could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. 3 Voratian vessels at the edge of the fleet had suddenly exploded. What happened? Elder Vox demanded. Unknown, Elder, the sensor operator replied. No projectiles detected. No energy weapons fired. 2 more ships exploded. Panic spread through the command center. We're being attacked, Zrelik realized, but not by any weapon we understand. The Voratian fleet, for the first time in their long history of conquest, began emergency maneuvers to retreat. The predators had become prey, and they had no idea how humans were accomplishing the impossible. What they couldn't know was that Lieutenant Murphy and Dr. Ellis had put into motion the most daring part of their plan weeks earlier, a plan that had brought the fight not just to Earth's surface, but into the 3 weeks before the Voratian fleet arrived at Earth. A small team led by Lieutenant Murphy and Dr. Ellis had executed the most daring mission in human history. Using intelligence gathered from previous encounters, they had located and captured a Voratian scout ship intact. In a secret facility beneath the Arizona desert, Samantha Reeves worked day and night with a team of engineers to understand the alien technology. Her experience as the sole survivor of the Alaska attack gave her unique insight into how the Voratians thought and operated. Their systems are all connected, she explained to Murphy as they examined the captured ship. They value efficiency above security. They never expected prey to capture their technology. From this single ship, humans learned more about Voratian technology than the aliens realized. Most importantly, they discovered a critical vulnerability. The Voratian fleet's command systems shared a common network architecture. If one could access any part of that network, they could potentially access it all. Dr. Wright developed a virus designed to spread through the Voratian ship's connected systems. It would target life support, weapons, and navigation, rendering the ships helpless. The real challenge was deploying the virus. It required someone to physically board a Voratian vessel and connect directly to their systems. A suicide mission by any measure. Yet 15 brave men and women volunteered. Using the captured scout ship and Voratian camouflage technology, they launched into space 2 days before the fleet arrived. Their mission: infiltrate the fleet and deploy the virus. Now, as Voratian ships exploded around him, Commander Zrelik finally understood what was happening. We've been infiltrated, he told Elder Vox. The humans used our own technology against us. Elder Vox could not comprehend their failure. Impossible. No prey species called. That's our mistake, Zrelik interrupted. We kept thinking of them as prey. They're not. They never were. On Earth, humans watched as the Voratian fleet fell into chaos. Ship after ship lost power or exploded as the virus spread through their systems. The remaining vessels began a disorganized retreat. In the command center, Murphy received the message he had been waiting for. Only 3 of the 15 infiltration team members had survived, but they had succeeded beyond all expectations. The Voratian fleet was crippled. We've won this battle, Murphy told his team. But the war isn't over. There will be more Voratians. Dr. Ellis nodded. But next time, we'll be ready. We've learned more about their technology in 3 months than we would have advanced on our own in a century. 2 days later, a single Voratian ship returned to Earth orbit. It broadcast a message in perfect English. We request to speak with human leadership. We come under flag of truce. The meeting took place at a neutral location in Switzerland. Commander Zrelik represented the Voratians. He faced a panel of human leaders including General Harris, Lieutenant Murphy, and Dr. Ellis. For 10,000 years, the Voratian Empire has hunted species across 3 galaxies. Zrelik began. Never before have we encountered resistance like yours. Never before have the hunters become the hunted. He placed an ornate device on the table. The High Council offers this peace treaty. We recognize humans not as prey, but as equals. We will share star charts, technology, and knowledge of other species. In return, we ask only that you spare our remaining ships and allow us peaceful passage home. General Harris looked to Murphy, who nodded slightly. We accept your treaty, Harris said. But know this, if Voratians ever return to Earth with hostile intent, what happened to your fleet will seem merciful compared to our response. 6 months later, humanity began its first tentative steps into interstellar space. Ships built with technology adapted from captured Voratian vessels explored neighboring star systems. Earth's defenses grew stronger by the day, incorporating lessons learned from the conflict. In a surprising development, Commander Zrelik requested to remain on Earth as the first Voratian ambassador. His request was granted, though he remained under close watch. Why did you choose to stay? Murphy asked him during a private meeting. Zrelik's amber eyes reflected the sunlight streaming through the window. Because you humans fascinate me. In all our history of hunting, we never understood a simple truth that you grasp instinctively. What truth is that? Murphy asked. That the most dangerous predator is not the strongest or fastest. Zrelik replied. It's the one that can think like its prey, while making its prey think like a predator. Humans mastered that art. You turned our strength against us. I wish to learn from you. As humanity expanded to the stars, their reputation spread quickly. The species that had defeated the mighty Voratian hunters was not to be trifled with. Across the galaxy, word spread of the small blue planet where the natural order had been reversed, where the hunters became the prey when they crossed paths with humans.